Hey, I'm Deidre Detterman, host of the Do It My Way podcast, where we empower women business owners and CEOs to do business on their terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. I'm obsessed with all things marketing. I started my career in television, and I remember sitting in countless meetings, listening to executives talk about things that needed to change, but they never did. I was always thinking, what if we did it my way? Once I became an entrepreneur and I started living life on my terms, working the hours I want to work, making the money I want to make, I started to feel success. I was finally in control of my destiny. I hope you will join me on this journey discovering how you can do it your way. Welcome to the Do It My Way podcast. You are not going to want to miss this next guest. LaTonya Pratt, she's a mom of 3 little boys. She's a CEO running a major nonprofit in Tulsa. She's done amazing things in the community. Her faith is such a center of who she is. You don't want to miss this podcast. Hi, LaTonya.
Hello. How are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I have to tell everybody where we met.
Yes.
So you and I were at a conference. It was the Women in Business Conference in Jinx.
Yes.
And we were both speakers. Mm-hmm. And so I was the first speaker. You were the last speaker. And I will have to say.
Right before the meal. Right before happy hour. Heavy load.
It was. So being the first speaker, you've got, the mic was off a little bit. Yes. We couldn't get the clicker working.
But you owned it.
I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yes,
that was a little rocky of start. But when you're the last speaker, we've had a long day.
Yes.
We've had lunch.
Yes.
People are getting ready to go to happy hour.
I was tired. I was ready to go to happy hour.
You're the last speaker, but I will say you absolutely owned it.
Thank you.
I mean, you got up there. You're hilarious, first of all.
Thank you. I'll tell my husband this. I'll just make a little clip of it and send it to him.
You don't have comedian in your bio, but it should be.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my part-time gig.
But you absolutely just brought the energy, brought the room down. And I love that you got up there and the first thing you were like, oh, no, you're not sleeping on my dime. And everybody's like, who is this girl?
Yeah, she's a lot.
No, it was great. And that's exactly how to start it. And from the time you started, there wasn't one person that looked down, did anything on their phone. They were just engaged with you the whole time. And that's a huge testament to you as a speaker.
Thank you very much.
But I looked at Bree, who she's not here today, but I was like, okay, we're having that girl on the podcast.
I am honored. I was so happy when you reached out. I'm excited to even be a part. I remember you as well because one, you're gorgeous. And then you had on this pink blazer. And I'm like, this lady has it going on. And then we just talked. And
we did.
By then, you can't get rid of me because we're besties. So it's too late now. So.
I love it. Well, okay. So you're a mom.
Yes.
You're an influencer. You've got 3 little boys.
Yes.
You are an HR genius.
I love that.
You've got this whole career woman, mom thing going. And tell me your son, the ages.
So Colden is 12. He is graduating from 6th grade this week. Kaizen, he is 10. And then baby Crew is 8. And we still call him baby Crew.
I love it.
We probably should drop baby, but he's
cute.
He's cute. He's the baby. So
I love it. So if someone asks you, okay, LaTonya, what do you do? How do you describe?
Well, first I say, what do I do? Because I'm tired. But my main job is I get to lead an amazing team in Tulsa. So yes, we are in Tulsa. I live in Tulsa, but the name of my nonprofit is in Tulsa. And we connect companies to candidates and candidates to careers. And basically we're a network for, we would say, the underserved or someone who doesn't have a network. So say you're a mom and you've worked, built your career, but then you decided to be a mom and have your babies and go home and take care of them. But then you want to get back into the workforce. You don't have your network. We're your network.
That's
huge.
That's
what I do. But then I have a little side gig because I'm a mom, but I'm not just a mom. I am a wife. I'm not just a wife. I do love my career, but that's not all that I am either. So I just have this little creative outlet because I like to shop and it's a way to get free clothes. But also I get to encourage women. And I think that's what my superpower is, encouragement. And I get to do that every day on Instagram.
So you're an influencer. I mean, you may not call yourself that.
I don't feel like I'm influencer level yet, but I do know that people come to me when they need encouragement, and I love that. So,
well, encouragement, and I think the whole fashion thing and HR, I mean, it all fits in really nicely, and you're empowering women.
That's what I want to do. Yes.
which is great. So the underserved, I know diversity is a big part of what you do. So share that with me, because I know DEI is so important for businesses, and you don't see it as much as you should.
Well, the thing about it is, one, I know this is going to shock everyone, but I'm an African-American woman. Yeah. Shock. But because of that, I've realized that there are places where I assume on my own that I may not have a spot. But when you think about it, even as a child, you walk into a room and you're trying to see, where do I fit in? Where do I belong? And I love creating a place for someone who questions, do I belong here? So we go into organizations and we provide training. We help with their hiring process to make sure there's not any bias. But most importantly, we get them in front of candidates that are diverse. Now, we're not saying that a diverse candidate means that you have to waver on what you're looking for. We will find you a top candidate that is also diverse, just to introduce you to a candidate pool that you may not know of in the Tulsa area or beyond. So
that's amazing. That's such great work that you guys are doing.
I love it.
Okay, so how'd you get into HR? Because to be honest, let me just give you the stereotype.
I know you think I was, I do not look like HR.
The stereotype of HR. When you first said that, I was like, really? I mean, you seem like you could be a sales girl that would get it done in about 2 seconds.
That's how I started, selling HR.
Okay.
So, when I went to college, I majored in broadcast journalism because I was going to be Oprah. But I had enough credits to double major in communication. So I said, okay, broadcast journalism because I'm going to be Oprah, but corporate communications because I could just get 2 degrees and I'm an achiever, so it sounds great. I got my first job in the middle of nowhere, Kansas for $24,000 working from like 9 p.m. and I was like, God's got better plans for me. This is not my budget I'm working in. I'm not working at 9 p.m. That's when I go to bed.
Right.
And so I didn't take the job and went to a company that when I interviewed, everybody was dressed cute. They were young professionals in a cute office. And I'm like, I don't know what they do here, but I want this job. Come to find out, it's HR sales. Did HR sales for a bit, started really gaining relationships with the managers that I worked with, moved into HR and just worked myself up. And what I realized is HR has turned into people and culture. And I care about people. It's natural for me to love people, care for them well. And if you will care for people well in an organization, you will have a better organization.
That's so great.
Right? And so that's how I got into HR, and I love it. I love everything.
It's all about people, connecting with the people and caring about them and their families and all of that.
Also, I had to let people go and like going up. And so in firing people, I had learned how to do it in a way where people would be like, so I don't come back to work. I'm like, no, you don't have to come back ever.
Yeah.
Like you're on vacation forever. You can even find someone else to pay you.
Yeah.
Like, no. So I even had to learn how to fire people well.
Right.
And it's, when you love people well, it goes well.
Yes, so. That's great. Well, you have that charismatic personality, so I'm sure candidates love you.
And I love them, so it's
businesses
fun.
alike.
Yes.
So that's so great. Okay, so mentors. Let's talk about growing up. Did you have a female or a woman in your life that you looked up to that you said, you know what, I want to be like her?
Well, I think everyone has their first mentor. My mother passed away quite a while ago, but what I have realized is in the short amount of time that I had my mom, she taught me everything I needed to be the woman that I am today. And so, yes, it's like cliche, like my mom, but like Edith Swanson was a whole thug. So she was in church and like loved Jesus, but she would snatch you up in a minute. And I just remember the standard that she held me to throughout my entire life. It would just be like, even when I picked out my classes in high school, I remember my friends were like, I'm going to be an aide. And my mom was like, we are not going to be an aide.
Yeah.
You're going to find you a STEAM class.
Right.
And I was like, all my friends are having fun their senior year and I'm getting real grades.
Right.
But everything like that molded my mindset into who I am today, where it's like, I don't care what everyone else is doing. You're going to give 100%. And then it moved into me finding powerful women that I would say Megan Thomas. She is a founder of an org here, amazing woman. She has a different personality to me. And I think there's something about leading an organization with a quiet strength. Obviously, I am not quiet strength, but either way, it's like everyone has their superpower and you're called to lead and you can lead well regardless. And so those are some of my biggest women mentors I've had. And then I hope that now I am considered a mentor to the many that I get to love on too.
Well, I know you do a lot. You went to ORU. You ran
did.
track.
Yes, Fly Eagles Fly.
Look at you.
Yes.
Track girl.
Love it.
That's impressive. And I bet you still try to race your sons.
I still try to race my sons. I try to race my husband. I also have a race coming up in my neighborhood where we're doing a relay with husbands against wives. And
That's funny.
I don't lose well, so we'll see how this goes.
That's great. But mentorship is important. And I know you do a lot with ORU and the students and all of that. So
yes, I get to be the chaplain of the women's track team. And that's a big deal to me because when you're in college, whatever you're going through then is like the biggest deal. And they haven't even started paying taxes yet.
But
it's just like everything's falling apart. And I get to be there as I call myself a big sister, even though I might be old enough to be their mother, but like a big sister or an aunt to help guide them through. And I think sometimes we don't realize that we can be a mom and we can be in the workspace and we can go and volunteer and we can make a difference in our community. And I just kind of want to send the message as you can do everything. You don't have to do it at the same time and you don't have to do everything at an excellent standard all the time, but you can do everything well. And you'll see the results.
That's great advice. I love that. So talk about a day in the life, because you just got here, you said you'd already been to an assembly for your son for 6th grade, and it's 10 a.m. right?
Well, today is fun. Today will be a fun day to share. So 8:15, I go to an awards ceremony. After that, I get to come hang out with you. Then right after this, somehow I signed up to plan the entire promotion party for 6th grade. So we're having a water slide, all that. So I'm doing that today. Then I'm going to go to a quick meeting, and then I'm going to go home and finish up all the work that I did not do during this time. But my days are different. And I think that's what I love most about being able to lead teams is flexibility. And also the ability to control who I support and when.
That's
sometimes
great.
I get to support my kids first, and sometimes I have to choose to support my family or my job first. I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't believe there's a day in your life where you're like, oh, everything is smooth, 10% here, 10% there. There are some days I am an awesome mom, and then there are some days where a friend is sending me a video because I completely forgot that there was a clap in, And then there's some days where I'm rocking my job, and there's some days where it's like, LaTonya, you have a meeting in 10 minutes. I'm like, oh. So you just have to work it out, and do your best, try your best, know what your end of the year goals are, I think, not the day-to-day, and you'll be fine.
That's great advice. It is tough, I think, being a working mom, because you're always thinking when you're at work, gosh, am I doing enough for my kids? When you're with their kids, oh gosh, I should be at the meeting or whatever's going on at the office. And so it's that balance, that struggle constantly.
It is.
Which I do think today, it sounds like you have flexibility.
Yes.
Flexibility is key.
It is.
And that's one of the things on our team, we try to do as much flexibility as possible, because I remember being that working mom, not being able to leave, missing the assembly because I was at work, and it's terrible.
It's horrible, but it's like twofold. So one is something I've been struggling with is finding my worth and how my kids or something that I touch shows up. And so I've had to tell myself, like, my kids are not my report card, because if you all know a Pratt boy or you happen to see a Pratt boy and he's out cutting up, that is because of his father. Now, if you see a Pratt boy and he is on his best behavior, that is because of me. No, but I've had to realize that my worth doesn't come from the outcome of my work. And I think that's my lifelong lesson that I'm still learning. But that's why it's so hard, because if I'm not climbing the corporate ladder, am I doing what I'm supposed to do in my work? If my children are not making straight A's and on the honor roll and winning every award, am I failing there? And it's just like, no, it's either learning or it's a lesson or you're winning.
So true. And your boys are watching that. I think now I've got one graduating, one's in college, one's graduating on Friday, which is crazy.
Cute.
But you think about they're watching, even if you are saying all the things, and it's like when you have a senior, just wait, what goes through your mind is, did I teach him this?
Yes.
Did I say this? Is he gonna, all the things I want to make sure that I did to set him up for success.
Yes.
And it's like, here we are at the 10th hour, should have thought of that before. But it just races through your mind as a mom. But I think, my husband and I have been a good example. So he's seen the way we work, the way we interact, the way, that we give back, we go to church, we do the things. So it's like, hopefully your actions,
they see it. They
speak loud.
see it. They do. I remember a friend friend telling me, she goes, LaTonya, why do you find it so hard to rest? And I think it's what you just said. I don't know how much time I have with my kids because I've lost both of my parents before I was 23. But I feel like they gave me everything I needed to be who I am today. And I think there's this small voice inside of me that's like, do they know everything they need just in case I'm not here?
Right.
But I guess I could say my husband probably could take over. But I'm still raising my mother-in-law's son too.
Yeah.
So there's that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Kidding, kind of.
It took me a second. I'm like, mother-in-law's son.
My husband, yes. We're still raising him. No. But, and there's that thing is like, do they have everything they need to be? And in my opinion, like everything that my God's called them to be.
Right.
And that's my biggest hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about faith for a minute, because I know faith's a big part of your journey and who you are. So how does faith play a role in your everyday life?
Well, my husband is a pastor at a local church on the move here. And what's funny is probably if you think of a stereotypical pastor's wife, you would not think of me. And I'm fine with that. And it brings me joy. At first, I used to question, like, when we were in college, you never told me you wanted to be a pastor. And things have changed. And I just feel like I need feedback on where that changed. But now I realize it's another opportunity to love people well. Faith is huge for me because I do think the obstacles that I've gone through, I wouldn't have been able to survive them the way that I have if I didn't have a hope in something. Faith is in my day-to-day life. It's the foundation of my family. It's the foundation of who I am. And I just think it's another opportunity to love people well.
Yeah.
And that's how I use it.
Absolutely. And it's so great to have, something greater than you.
Yes.
That it's not really you and your call in your day-to-day life, but if you can surrender and say, you know what? God, help me through this. Guide me through these steps.
Yes. Surrender is the hardest thing, though, I will say, because sometimes I'm like, I think I have this, God. I just need you to follow my
follow my
path because I've got this and you seem busy anyways. But surrender is something I'm still learning as well.
Me too.
So.
Me too. You have the same personality type I do.
I believe it.
Have you done the Enneagram?
Yes.
So you're a 3?
I am a 3, wing 2. And the thing about my wing 2,
exactly. I'm exactly
and I'm going to help you the best because I'm an achiever.
Yeah.
So not only am I going to help you,
I'm
going to make sure that I'm out helping everybody else as well. Yeah. That's a
so
great life to live, right?
That's great. But I get that, like from an achievement standpoint, and you like to be in control, which is why you're running companies.
Yes.
Right? That's it. That's a personality trait that can be very successful in business.
Yes.
But also sometimes you have to look back and go, you know what? I don't need to be in charge all the time. I've got to surrender and turn it over.
It's like, I really should just let this go. But will they do this as well as I do it? No, just kidding. Not kidding. But yes.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk fashion.
Yes.
Because that's one of the first things I noticed about you when you showed up that day. You were wearing your colors. You looked amazing.
Yes.
We were chatting about being winters together.
I love it.
And today I'm in white, which I typically am in really bright clothes.
I love it.
I knew you'd wear something bright, and I wanted to make sure,
Thank
you could shine.
See,
and all
I like that. Always willing to let another woman shine. That's your personality, and I love that.
Well, so how did you get into fashion? Has it always been something that has been a part of what you're like when you were younger? Were you into that?
So my mom owned a women's boutique with accessories. And so fashion was always something that I enjoyed. But then I ended up having 3 boys. I knew I would have a mini me that we could dress alike, and she never came, and it is finished. So we're done. She's not coming. And if she does, we'll have a new story to tell. But I had my 3rd son, and I realized I had just turned into someone who did not show up well in fashion. And I looked at my friends, and we all looked a hot mess, just running around. And I'm like, we can't do this because we look bad. Like, we look really bad. So I just started getting into fashion and realizing that when I started to dress better, I started to feel better. I mean, it's the same cliche. Like, when you look great, you feel great. When you feel great, you do great. That's just life. And then I said, well, I'm just going to share my little journey on Instagram. We'll see if anybody cares. And then people started being like, where did you get this? Where did you get that? And I'm like, I think I might be cute, y'all. Like, I think they might think I'm cute. So I started doing that. And then recently, one of my besties opened up a company called Coded in Color, and she does colors. And at first I was like, okay, this is gimmicky, but I'm going to support her. And then I left, and you couldn't tell me I wasn't Beyonce. Like, I felt like a millionaire in my colors.
True.
So she does your color, she does your style. And then I took my team because we do a lot like at executive businesses. And when you show up looking the part,
so true.
No one knows that, like, like my house is on fire back home. They're just like, she has her life together. It's like, I know, it's a fraud, but I'm cute doing it, you know? So that's how it came into be. But it also was kind of an underlying way to attract people to me so I could lead them to Jesus too.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So people would come, they want to see what I'm wearing, and then I would give them a cute little like word of encouragement, pointing them back to Jesus, pointing them back to knowing they're a great mom or whatever it is that I'm struggling with. And that's how you build a community, because people always admire the great things you're doing, but they connect with the hot mess in your life.
That's absolutely
true. They're like, LaTonya is my best friend because you know she's a hot mess. Did you see her scan her house and she had dishes in the sink? And I'm like, yeah, these are the people I live with. Like, that's how
absolutely.
It is.
So, okay, showing up on social media, one of the things that, our clients say all the time, if they're trying to do a personal brand, they're trying to be an influencer and get out there, is what do I post on my social media? It can be daunting. So how do you handle that? You're a CEO, you're running a business, you're also, mom, all the things you're doing. How do you show up consistently? And just walk me through like how you come up with content.
Everything is content. Everything is content. And I think we live in a world where we started off with all of our social platforms needing to be curated and perfect. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to your day-to-day life. People admire the curated and perfect pieces of your life, but they connect with the hot mess. Yep. And sharing my hot mess made them celebrate me when I did have something curated. For example, my son recently tested with dyslexia. Okay. And I was devastated because I didn't understand that it was not an obstacle. It was actually something that was going to propel him forward. It was a gift for the way that he thinks. Like, you can just see the way he can pull apart a problem. And I was devastated. So I share, like, it's devastating. I have every Monday I have to meet up, and people started out of the woodworks. They were just like, so tell me, who is this lady that he's going to? How is Crew doing? And I ended up with a group of people excited for Crew and all of his goodness that he's doing. So showing up authentically is the way to be consistent, because your life is authentic. You don't have to be curated. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have the answers. Sometimes people will give you feedback when you don't ask for it, but it makes you better, because feedback is a gift. It might show you a blind spot, or it might show you that there are people out there that are hurting and how you can love them better. There's only two things that come from it. Yep. But I love it because it is another way to create community. I have friends in other states that are like, whenever you come here, come and visit me. And it's all because I've shown up in a way that was hard but authentic.
And how long ago did you do that? Did you start?
Like about 3 years ago, I was just like, I'm going to get on here and start sharing. And I will say I started a little bit in 2020 for sure. But I think that's when I really propelled the whole year after that, because I'm an extrovert times 5,000. And then they were like, oh, we're stuck in the house. This is amazing. I'm going to meet friends. So you guys can be in here if you want to. And then meeting friends online became real friends. And then it became kind of like a brand. And my heart is to inspire and encourage women. So I began to go speak, and I love speaking to women. It just,
you're a natural.
It's an up arrow for me. Right. I love it. So it grew into something more than I thought it would be.
So share your Instagram.
Okay, it's Glam and Grace Styling, at Glam and Grace Styling.
Okay, great.
And I'm always there.
You are great. Okay, so the funniest thing, Grace and I were looking at it earlier, and I was like, okay, you have to watch the first reel that you have pinned. Oh, and you're in the car, and I think there's like praise and worship music going, and the kids like this beautiful going to school, doing the drop off, and you're waving and blowing kisses to the kids in the back. And as soon as the kids get out of the car, the rap music starts.
Comes on. That's my life. Those are my two personalities. It's like funny. Which goes back to like, oh, so your husband works at the church, right? So I was actually running the other day. I'm running, and this guy's like, what are you listening to? And I was like, what am I listening to now? Do you want to know? Elevation worship.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe a little bit of gangster rap, but it's all fine. It all goes together. But I think it's my different personalities all in one. And I don't know. I don't let anything define me. I think that's something I'm also learning as I have gotten older. I'm learning that you can try to please everyone, and then you end up not pleasing yourself.
You're right. So. And being authentically yourself is the best way. If you want to start, become an influencer, anything like that, or even develop a personal brand.
Yes.
And how people come and say, gosh, I want to be a real estate expert. And I'm like, okay, what have you done in real estate? Well, I haven't started yet. And I'm like, you're not a real estate expert.
Not yet.
What are you great at? What do people seek you out for advice? Like you were fashion. You know, whether you knew it or not, you fell into that because people were like, where'd you get that? You look so great. Oh, your colors, you know, this and that. And then you start to become that expert because you show up that way.
Yes.
So that's great. So do you see this being like a career for you, or is it kind of a little fun side thing?
I will always keep it around because I don't know why, but I just love women's ministry, encouraging women, fashion. And I feel like it will always be something that's a part of me because I hope and pray that my everyday life is an inspiration. I think when you lose parents so early, or if you've experienced grief, you just want to make sure you create a lasting legacy. And long after I am here, I want people to say, like, LaTonya was here. She made an impact. She changed my world for the better somehow. And so that's why I will continue to share on Instagram, just to have something when I'm gone. Like, that's why I do it.
That's great. Okay, so speaking, let's talk about that for a minute. You're great at that. Is that just a fun side avenue?
Yes,
or
it is a fun
do you see yourself being, you know, I think you could easily be a national speaker.
I love you. I would love to be a national speaker. Sign me up. No, but honestly, it's fun for me. It's an up arrow. A lot of things I have done before it's been a striving for me. Like I'm striving. And I think I'm finally in my era of just, I'm doing what brings me joy. And when I do that well, it gives God glory. And then ultimately, God elevates it.
Yeah.
And that's what speaking is. When I get in front of a group of women, I don't feel like I'm speaking. I don't prepare much. I just am like, what am I supposed to tell these women? And I'm in front of my friends.
Yeah.
And being authentic is kind of the pathway to getting me there. So yes, I love speaking. I love more so speaking in front of women and with women. That's what brings me the most joy.
So what about me time? Do you ever just take time and say, you know what, LaTonya needs some space, no phone, no kids, no activity, craziness, or do you always like on?
I try to have more me time, and I do have it sometimes, but I am mostly on. But I think in this really weird way, I thrive in chaos. Like when I wake up and I know that there's so much to do today, like I stress my family out because I'm like, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And they're just like, and I'm like, I love this life. But for me time, I love audiobooks. I used to be a big reader. My husband used to call me his little nerd, but now I like to kind of do multiple things. So I will go for a walk. Like I've turned into the walking lady.
Oh yeah, I'm the walking lady.
Okay, I'm the walking lady.
My daughter and I are the walking ladies.
And I turn on an Audible book. I have pushed myself to try to read more, or listen, whatever you want to call it, to more fiction books. But I find myself like going back to the Brene Browns and like, I don't know, but I'm looking for a good fiction book. So if you have some, send them my way.
We've circulated around the office.
Okay, so I need some fiction books, but I love listening to Audible books. And another thing that I really love doing is just being outside. Now, I'm not a camper, so don't think outside.
Glamping.
Glamping is not my thing either. I just want to be outside.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm thinking more gathering. Yeah, I'm more like gathering place walking. Okay, but that's kind of how I like to spend my time outside.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's talk about the candidates that you work with.
Yes.
If you are trying to place someone in a job, what would be your number one piece of advice for someone that is going for a job?
One, we've been talking about it all day. Be authentic. And then two, you need to find your superpower. Every single person has a superpower. You need to find it and be able to sell it. Nobody can sell you better than you. And those are the two things that will get you a job every time. Find your superpower. You have to find the value you're going to add to an organization before they find it first.
Do you help candidates with that?
Yes.
Because I think that is really important.
You have to.
And it's hard, I think, sometimes looking at yourself.
Yes.
You know?
Because we have always been taught that our resume goes before us. And I hate to say this, we look at resumes for maybe 7 seconds. And it's just to make sure you haven't had 75 jobs in 2 years.
Yeah.
Or we might look to just make sure you have certain software or certifications. But we care about you. Come to an interview ready to sell your most authentic self, find your superpower, and then show us how it's going to change our business. It works every time.
That's great. So what about companies in Tulsa that want to work with in Tulsa? how can any company work with you, or how does that work?
Well, we are nonprofit,
Okay.
and we do have a philanthropic piece to us. So we mostly help small startup organizations that don't have resources for an HR team.
Like
That's our
nonprofits, or even just any
We
startup?
do help nonprofits, but also startups.
Okay.
So we have a strong tech pool. I don't know if you know this, but Tulsa has recently been deemed a tech hub. And so we have a lot of tech startups coming here. We love helping tech startups. It's kind of our sweet spot.
Okay.
But also nonprofits, anyone that just doesn't have the resourcing yet. And then you'll graduate and we'll give you to one of our partners that's a local talent agency here.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I love that. I know so many nonprofits and startups that is, I would say HR is their biggest struggle, because
Yes.
you can't afford to hire
No.
an HR director, right when you're starting up. It's kind of like the last thing you're thinking
Exactly.
of, but such an important piece.
And we have fractional opportunities too. So if you're needing some hours here or there, we would love to help with that as well. Our main goal is to help make sure Tulsa businesses thrive. And the biggest piece is finding that talent. Like, you have an amazing team here, as I've been trying to hire everybody for myself, but it's hard to find that. And
It is.
how did you find your talent? Through
Right.
your network,
It's networking.
right?
You're
So we
right.
get to be that network.
So what about candidates? Where do you find them?
We find them through applying to our talent network. We find them at some of the local opportunities that we go to and set up a table. A lot of times they come to us just because they've heard from referrals, and then we actively have talent partners that will recruit from out of state, and we will pay you to come to Tulsa. So $10,000, come on to
Yes.
Tulsa.
That's such an amazing
Yes.
opportunity. So, and I know a lot of people that have taken advantage of that.
Yes, I mean, I've thought about leaving for 12 months,
Right.
come back and
Yeah.
get it myself. So yeah, no.
Just to get it.
Just
I
to
love
get it.
So what's next for you? If you had to think like 5 years down that, well, let's say kids are graduated.
Kids are graduated.
Kids are graduated.
Okay.
What's next for LaTonya?
One, I am probably crying because that
Yeah.
will take a lot of chaos. When Baby Crew leaves, we'll still call him Baby Crew,
Right,
just so you know.
right,
That's
right.
what we're going to call him until he graduates. At his wedding, he will be Baby Crew. What's next for me? I really, really wish I knew, but I hope that it is still ministering to women. I don't see myself not leading teams. It brings me so much joy. One, because I know that a good manager and a good leader or a good director can pull things out of people and help them elevate to the next level. And I want to be a part of making sure people see their superpowers and how to use them and how they can help someone else. I hope that I'm speaking around the world, though. I really hope I am just traveling all over the world, encouraging, inspiring, and empowering women.
Well, you're calling it here today, and
Okay,
I can
that's what
see
we do.
that happening.
Thank
so
you.
that's great. Well, where can people find you? I know we talked about
Yes.
your Instagram and all of that. What about if they want to reach out to you in Tulsa?
Oh, I would love it. So my email address is latonya.pratt@intulsa.com. You can find me on Instagram at Glam and Grace Styling. You can find me at Church on the Move in the front. You can find me at Lincoln Christian. You can find me everywhere. You know where you can really find me? Target and Broken Arrow. Yeah. So they're all the places.
That's great. Well, you have been so much fun.
You too.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
a ball of energy,
Thank
and
you.
it's contagious. So
Thank you. Thank you. I am honored to be chosen to be here with you. You are my mentor from afar, and I am
thank
just
you.
grateful that you saw something in me and invited me to be here. So
you're so
talk to you soon.
sweet.
Love you dearly.
Okay, love this. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Do It My Way podcast. If you like this episode, please remember to share with your friends and make sure to let me know who you'd like me to interview next. We'll see you next time.